the biggest challenge is just wrapping our head around the scope and the scale. It requires us to think about movie making in a different way.
You have a frame of just Gypsy Danger. And Gypsy Danger is 250 feet tall, but if you don't have scale cues nearby, it could be 20 feet tall, you can't quite tell.
We're talking, huge skyscraper-sized things. So there's a lot of scale cues that we had to throw in, little handrails that lead up to a little hatch.
All right, here we go.
Parker, 48 frames.
We wanted these things to be believable, but when you stand back and look at them, they read as a cohesive design.
It's gonna be him getting up, hand first, like carrying a very delicate tray,
It takes us out of standard human-scale filmmaking. You're dealing with rain and storms swirling around a skyscraper-sized thing that's moving. And it presents some design and some technical problems that I've never quite tackled before to make that read. And it's exciting to see it work.
So you don't have to be synced on that. Okay. You will sync in the punch, and then on the way back one, him alone, and then you join him. And then you guys go on the second punch is the power move.
One thing Guillermo didn't want was very naturalistic, realistic human motion on the Jaegers, even though they're controlled by humans inside of them. He wanted the Jaegers to be machines, vehicles that the humans are in, and to have that feeling.
There's definitely those little peekaboo moments where the scale, it comes into play. And you see the big gears turning, and you see the pistons pushing and locking into place.
There's some really massive digging equipment that we looked at in terms of just what really gigantic machinery looks like when it's moving and when it stops moving and how all the little parts look. Again, that only gets you so far, and then you just have to start using your imagination.
The first way you can do scale is context. We talked about moving in the streets, and I wrote a little note that says, "Cars fly like pebbles." Using cars as the language of debris. Like instead of putting just debris, we would put little cars, desks, pieces of paper. When they smash into a building, you would have all this debris that would be so minute.
Guillermo designs events like shipping containers being hit against a kaiju's head and things fall out. So we're dealing with a camera in a helicopter that's looking at a fight, but they're fighting with real-world scale items. So the shipping containers fall apart and out drops TVs and couches, which Guillermo wants to see because he has this Guillermo sense of humor.
The containers have a moped, a bicycle, a car, living room set. All these things come into play that give scale, but they're also fun. Within the kaiju itself, the texturing, when you go close, you see what looks like a scale, and then you go closer and there's a bunch of bumps and cracks that give you the scale. If you do a close-up in a 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot tall monster, you never get that close. You never get the sense of texture that you get with a kaiju. The second trait that you do for scale is speed. They need to feel heavy. They need to feel very heavy. There was a shot of the kaiju climbing out of the water, and we went through many, many versions because I didn't feel the weight. So I wanted this kaiju to really depend on that heavy, heavy front, and to convey that you need them to move slowly. You don't want the fights to be at the scale of a 6 foot tall monster.
Imagine this is a bus, and this is a bus, and this is a car, and this is a house. That's the scale we're working at, and so it's got to maintain that scale.
I'm very attentive to physics. And if I don't buy the physics of a shot, if I don't think that a piece of debris bounces off or the atmospheric haze is not conveying the scale the right way, on creatures this scale, it needs to affect the environment around it. It needs to be done in a way that feels massive. And you see Megadora coming like he's clawing down onto the street, taking down the bridge, which is more scary. She exits left. We're gonna probably let her go in the alley and cut to that. We're now on our set. The scene in the Tokyo alley is a scene that is crucial because I wanted very much to get the point of view of one person. So the Tokyo attack is from the point of view of Mako as a little girl. It's a big scene shot from a very small point of view.
There's no way we could have built Elizabeth Street in its entirety. All 400 feet, although I think Guillermo probably wanted to. We've taken the alleyway piece of that 400 foot of road, and that's what we've replicated here.
When you go into the set, then you try to match the textures and everything you are directed in the real street, you try to match it on the set.
The challenge is going from the real world to a design world and be able to cut from one image in the outdoors into one image in the indoors and make that as seamless as possible.
All right, let's rehearse.
Okay, rehearsing. Bam! 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 Away! Whoops!
The little herd of dumpsters behind us we see that are getting ready to be scrunched.
The buildings, the cars, everything was rigged with the same hydraulic system. So the whole set would bounce when the kaiju is walking.
The cars jump up and down as, of course, the monster approaches, and then at a certain point, the CG will take over, and his claw comes in looking for her and tears the ground up.
So I crushed it. So she reacts to that. Action. She backs off, and she needs to watch it go bam, bam. When you heighten the reality on an artificial set and you make a real street a little more artificial, they all meet in the middle.